Hello, I'm Hugh Weaver, and this is sort of my designer's insight video, like discussion video, into my Gluttony game, retro inspired game. Um, Base concept of this game essentially is that you are gluttony of one of the deadly sins, one of the 7 deadly sins, and your siblings, the other 6 deadly sins, have all been captured by sort of government and military authorities, and so you're on a quest to rescue them, while at the same time teaching the human race a lesson by destroying as much as you can. Um, and yeah, it's that destruction and the large amount of destruction that comes from the retro-inspired part of the assignment, with the old Rampage games being, and that franchise being the inspiration. So yeah, just about everything you can see, pretty much, you can damage and destroy. And they've all got different effects on them as well. Obviously different sound effects you can hear. And some things, they're originally all basically intended to have different particle effects. So like, you'd see different twigs and leaves coming off the bushes. You get maybe, I don't know, the cars have got something basic, but you maybe have like a sparks, like a metal hit or something like that. You see they explode when they're fully damaged. So yeah, that's one of the highlights of the current destruction effects in there. The cars where they wobble when you hit them, and obviously, like we got there, they explode when you damage them enough and turn out into a sort of burnt out husk with broken doors and wheels and that. One of the other highlights that we've got are the lampposts. They sort of, there we are, the sparks fly out the bulb at about half damage, and they also, physics get enabled and fall over, and physics get enabled on these as well. If I can find one that, I think we're going to have to damage it. There we are. So you just hit that once and at half health, it physics enabled on the post boxes. Couple of the other effects that I was talking about, some of the ones that I would have liked to have included. Oh, there we are. Sorry, before we continue, there's another effect for the explosion to damage things around it, which is why this fence here has just disappeared. But yeah, back to the other effects that I would have liked to included are, for these fences, I would have liked to do a sort of destructible mesh. So it breaks up into a bunch of pieces once it's fully destroyed, and obviously then those pieces despawn a few minutes later, something like that, or a few seconds later. Another one that I would have liked to do is a big water spout to come out of the hydrant when they get destroyed. But unfortunately, just didn't quite have the time to do all them. Something extra you might notice is there's a lot of different AI around this level, and that's in part, or to be honest, it probably entirely because of the player mechanics. And basically, the base player mechanics is you consume with your first skill, you consume the enemy AI, and then use the consumed to trigger your other skills. And that's sort of the base concept behind that. Like I said, it was based on the Gluttony deadliest sin, and it's sort of inspired by a couple of different MOBA characters, some different characters in like League and Smite. But that's why there's a large amount of AI in this level here. And obviously, there's some more over here. And one other thing about the main level is, well, there we are. There's, like you can see, a large amount of AI. But yeah, another thing about the level is it's designed to be quite linear, and give a little choice to the player in sort of what direction they can go in. Obviously there might be big open areas like this, but the only way out of this area is ahead of us here. But yeah, so it gives little choice. Oh, Jesus. The level's meant to be quite linear and sort of direct you to the place that, obviously, as a designer, I want the player to go. And if the players were prevented with an option, those options would sort of meet up again a little bit later down the line. So it didn't. So obviously they got the illusion of the option to start with, but it didn't sort of affect too much in terms of where they would end up going. But yeah, one of the sort of tactics I'm using to be able to guide players through the level is scripted events that sort of trigger when you get to different points. And sort of, as we can see here, I might be able to turn left here and go towards the convenience store, or might go straight on ahead and down that road. But if I come here, we're at a bus crash. I can't get past, and sort of the idea behind that bus crash is the driver of the bus sees this big horrible monster walking out, and suddenly in a jerk reaction swerves and crashes the bus, and then these cars pile up behind it. So yeah, that's the first of the scripted events. We've got a second one just up here, and there we are. The idea of that is police have been called, and they're trying to stop this big monster, so they've created a roadblock. Now the only way forwards is through these gardens, and so you create a big, just lots of destruction through these gardens. And it's another sort of effect, and not so much a destruction effect there, but sort of an idea of creating a little bit of an interactive kind of world, where sort of things there are different things, like obviously destroying the tree there meant the ladder fell down. I wanted things like maybe this diving board to be a bit bouncy, or the water in the pool I guess to have water physics, or at least like splashing particle effects. And then things like the football there, you can kick that about. But yeah, that was the idea behind that. Oh, and yeah, another thing here, maybe making the trampolines bouncy too. But yeah, that was our idea behind some of the things in the level, just to make it a bit more interactive, a bit more fun to sort of mess around in. But yeah, obviously those are the scripted events back there, so that forces you through here, and then you're going through the gardens, and finally at the end of this is the sort of the end of the demo here. There we go. If I quit out of that quickly, sort of the main sort of design for the level was to be like, it would start in a sort of like rural place, like farms or like small towns, and it would slowly, as you go through the level, or at least through like different stages which might make up a full level, you'd go from rural to sort of suburban to more urban to city, and finally end up in a sort of military or government like facility compound, which is where your siblings, the other deadly sins, are being held. As time went on, though, I obviously figured out that scope was sort of way too big for the time of this project. So I had to cut things out. So it ended up really going from a sort of suburban, like detached houses area, almost immediately into a slightly more urban terraced houses area, and that's sort of all I managed to complete. But that was sort of the main idea of it, and if I managed to include some of the other areas, then I wanted this start here, obviously the sight line directly ahead, you can sort of see between those two lots of terraced houses. I wanted a sight line there of the sort of the big sort of skyscrapers of the city, so that you would, like, it would show the player sort of where they where they were going to end up immediately, even if they might not realise it straight away. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately I couldn't include that because of sort of time constraints. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.